Okay, we're live. Welcome to another Nerd Stalker interview podcast. Good morning. This is Greg Valoria, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Today, we're pleased to talk with James Ontra, the CEO of Shufflrr LLC, and we're going to talk a lot about today the future of presentations. So, a little bit about James. He's responsible for the vision, strategy, and technical development for Shufflrr, and he brings over 30 years of entrepreneurial expertise and 20 years experience in both sales and developmental side of presentation management software. So he knows what he's doing in presentations and other things. So he's a natural born entrepreneur, bringing with his college career at the University of Houston, where he published Houston's hottest calendars, managed and helped found the Velvet Elvis Pub, and printed t-shirts in the garage. A lot of digging I did for this one, but I got this. And in 1993, and we're not going to talk about that old stuff, but where he was the Houston Small Business Administration named him the Young Entrepreneur of the Year. But anyway, good morning, James. Thanks for joining us here on Nerd Stalker Live from New York, right?
Yes, I'm in New York. Thank you, Greg. That was really nice.
I do my research, but anyway, so let's get into this and talk about presentations. And you know a lot about them, being in the business for such a long time. And you know things move forward, but they also stay the same. So let's talk about how presentations have evolved to where we are today, and maybe not evolved in your opinion.
Well, you know. The cavemen put blood on the walls, and that was some of the first presentations. But no, literally, presentations have changed since they became digital in the mid-90s, when people finally trusted a laptop to run video in front of their clients and actually make it work. They've evolved through the years, but generally they're the same. It's the consistent message and brand that people want to get out there, and they want to communicate, and they want to convince when you're doing a presentation. Presentations aren't about just giving a message. Your goal is to convince, to sell something, to go through it. But through time, when you got to devices, every file is opened in presentation format. Think about it. It's full screen. If it's full screen, that's a slide. Whether it's running a video, a Word document, a PDF, or a PowerPoint slide, that is it. So every device is a presentation machine, and it's serving up those files that go into it. So presentations are coming together. I think they're unrecognized as a valuable communication tool, and that's what Shufflrr pretty much does.
So let's talk about your view of like what's going to be in the future, and I think Shufflrr is part of all that, right? I mean,
yeah.
What do you see as with these mobile devices coming online, but you need apps for that? Mm-hmm. Like you said, we're going to multi-screen, right?
That's correct.
You're even in multi-screen a while ago too, by accident.
Yeah, but what I agree with that. I think it starts with the foundation of visualizing your content. No longer do you need to go to a folder network and see a list of 55 files that say, marketing, sales, this and that. But you should actually see the file without ever opening it. You could scroll right through it and go to what you need. Once you visualize the files, I mean, Amazon does this well. They visualize every item in the world so that you can pick it off the computer. If you put your files or slides in a visualized format, then all of that content becomes a foundation for making presentations. Shufflrr treats files as a slide, and a PowerPoint is just a group of slides where you can just drag them in and create new presentations. So that's where I see it going. Let me take it to a bigger format. Once you have this basic communication that way, there's two things going on right now, and it's unstructured data and using that to create instant slides. If we're talking right here and you start discussing, how cars are being used in South America, there is data on that. There are searches on that. And if you can find it, you can, as a human, cull it into a slide and take a few hours and make it right. Why couldn't that information be instantly available and be like fed up to me right now, that I can let it reinforce our conversation, not force the conversation? Presentations through the years have always forced the conversation. You said, I'm gonna do a presentation today. We're going through slide 1 through 5. And we're going to talk through 1 through 5. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. And on 3, you said, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And I go, well, we can't talk about that till 5. presentations nowadays, when you talk about it, all those other slides that you know are out there, you should be able to bring them in. Let the presentation follow the communication, and therefore make it a more interactive experience, a more selling versus telling experience. And if you think about unstructured data and bringing that together instantly to create slides, and letting slides be created as we're speaking so that I can reinforce it, I can stand on stage with my iPad and have a discussion with you, and someone bring up some unique, thesis or something that's out there. The research for that thesis could be gotten from me and served up into a slide, and I can bring it up on a stage with 20 people in the audience and start discussing it in detail, not knowing that question was coming in, but knowing that data is out there. I'm going to take it into another step that goes into this, which is even more valuable. You think of all that, and then think about visual storytelling. Visual storytelling is what social networks are all about nowadays. They are about, let me take a picture and here are my legs in the beach and shows how good I am. Is that really the Taj Mahal over my shoulder? Gee whiz, I'm a world traveler. I mean, people are trying to do it left and right. Big corporations are placing their soap and things and all sorts of visual storytelling, but each one of those are just a slide. Everything they're doing is just a slide. And presentations, if I took this unstructured data and making instant slides, and visual storytelling, which is kind of mnemonics, where if I could take words and create an image for it, and while it's not going to be great right now, but over time, images help create memories. People remember images more than they do text. But if our conversation could do that, then my slides are being formatted instantly on the fly, and our discussion is much more in depth. It's much more encyclopedic, if you will. And with that leads into a lot of the things Shufflrr is doing.
Wow, that blows me away, because I used to do a lot of presentations to like C-level executives, and half of them were like snoring in the room because I spent a long time trying to reshuffle my deck before the presentation, like in a freaking taxi in Tokyo or wherever. And what you're saying makes a lot of sense, is that if I could engage with these guys while I'm there and have more of a conversation than trying to force this, go slide 1 through 5 with them, and this is the message I'm going to tell you, are you going to buy my product now, that type of thing. It just makes a lot of sense. And then you bring up a good point, is that in a presentation to a large crowd, you can't talk to each individual. You have to engage with them in a different way, right?
That is correct. And I find that the devices should be your controller for what's on the slide, whether it's your phone or an iPad, and makes it. But you got into something interesting, and that's what Shufflrr is about. And treating your files as slides or visualized content, and being able to easily shuffle and repurpose them into new orders and slides and put them up there is very powerful. But the real issue is, and you hit on this, right? You said, I spent 4 hours in Tokyo and we were doing this, and I was in this, and I tried to get it just right. And when I went in there, the guy frowned and I jumped, and whatever happened. But how much time and effort did you put into that? And the presentation ended up being a one-off, one and done, out the door. Shufflrr treats presentations as an enterprise tool so that you can keep a consistent message, a consistent library. If your enterprise is global and you have 500 slides that tell your whole message, who you are, what you do, your European office, your North American offices, your specialties, bios, history, everything that goes into it, and you can just go there and quickly assemble 15 slides about who you are, and be ready in 10 minutes, like you just bought 15 items at Amazon. And when you do that, there is now intelligence on the background, who used what slides, when, where, and how. Those slides were built by marketing, people who do pretty pictures and write great words. And you're a sales guy. You want the shortest distance to get the deal closed. You don't want to sit there and go, oh, the logo was in pink last month. Now they changed it. I can't size that right. Here, you don't have to worry about it. If you go there, it's done. Legal knows it's compliant. They know what you did, when, and where. So fundamentally, Shufflrr takes the one-off PowerPoint file or files and turns it into an enterprise communications tool, i.e., Companies know that if they focused on television, you go, okay, I'm going to go to one place and do great creative with great storytelling, great camera work, and great placement, and buy the ads, and I'm going to make more sales. They know that in radio, they know it in social, they even know how much bandwidth you use. They manage every form of communications. But for some reason, presentations, a critical element in every company, everywhere, communicating everything, all business intelligence is there, has been left out of the meld. And this is about treating a presentation as an enterprise tool that can manage communications. If I know our companies merged together today and someone was in the Hong Kong office tomorrow morning and it hit the newspaper and your client already read it in the newspaper, don't you want 5 slides from the guys who wrote the deal and why to reinforce what's going on? A little point there, if I'm that guy in Tokyo and I have to put up a slide that says there's synergies between North and South America, I learn it better than anyone that ever taught it to me, because the moment you're on stage and you have to talk to your audience and convince them, even if it's the first time and it's about your company, I guarantee you'll never forget that moment. The adrenaline's cooking, you're learning, it's in the paper, and when you come out intelligent and you're going to have a good communication. You don't have to be smart. You're fundamentally honest that way. So we see a big future in presentations, and it's a global tool that has been unrecognized until this point.
That's a wonderful message that you had, because I think Shufflrr does this, and I want to ask you more about that also. Is that one of the problems I had is that, yes, marketing people put together a presentation for me to go out to the field and work with the local sales team. So I was kind of like the interface. But the problem is I never could get, after I reshuffled the deck, I never could get that feedback back to the team who originally created the deck for me to say that, for this client, I had to reshuffle it this way because this is what he needed. And then during the presentation, he mentioned this, this, and this. It ends up being a report. It goes into this Salesforce database. And hopefully someone will comb through this data to get the right information and read through my report to do that. Or, it's totally crazy. I like what you're saying is about a communication tool than a.
Check this out. What you're saying is actually kind of like, all right, within Shufflrr, we treat every file as its own item. We treat PowerPoints as an album of files. They're an album of slides. Everything's a slide. But wow. Each slide and each file can be commented on and liked. So we call it business social. So it's a closed business network, just your company. You put all your marketing information out there, and slide 55 of your corporate presentation spelled international wrong. I'll tell you what, a salesperson out in the field is going to find that in a minute. And the moment he sees it, he's going to go, oh, let me put a comment. George, you spelled international wrong. George gets the note as fast as he's typing on Facebook, just, getting feedback, and goes, oh my God. He goes, changes it, updates it, it's done. The feedback's there. It's part of history. Management knows who said what about whom. When you go to do a pitch and you take our history, our background, let's do the overview video, product, close, your boss knows the order you put it in. If you're the number one salesperson, maybe you're communicating something. You're going to have that business intelligence about who says what to whom, when and where out in the field. You have 1,000 salespeople. You want to know what slide they went from 1, 2, 3, and then spent 2.5 minutes on slide 4, skipped 5 and 6 and went right to the close, and he closed the deal. There's intelligence there that has been overlooked or just hasn't been available until Shufflrr today. And that's what we call presentation management. Presentation management is a category of communications that has been overlooked. It's strategy. CEOs all around, the highest level of every Fortune company should be considering a presentation management strategy. And if they don't have one, they can quickly find one at Shufflrr. And that's what we believe is happening right now. We're finding it from the biggest Fortune companies reaching out to us directly for these specific needs. And we're swinging the bat well, I got to tell you.
I looked at your list, and I know that isn't an updated list on your website because you probably don't have time to update your list on the website. But I saw some pretty heavy names on there. So
yes, and
that's pretty impressive.
I will say most of the large pharmaceutical companies need this type of, actual understanding of who's saying what to whom for FDA standards. Can you say it's going to solve my bellyache if I don't tell you? My hair is going to fall out, my skin's going to crack, and I'm going to start stuttering, and I'm going to start stuttering. Um,
The important thing you said earlier with actually sharing this data and having a slide as actually individual data is kind of cool because what I dealt with going from U.S. to Tokyo, I was based here, but I had to spend like 2 weeks in the field offices all the time. Is that there's a cultural context, right? That the marketing people don't know, right?
yeah,
They don't know every cultural context. They just know their product. So the product marketing people are just going to put the slide deck together based on their product, what they see, but not what the client sees.
You're really in tune to what's going on. We just developed a relationship with TransPerfect, which is an international translation company, and one of the largest, very, very competent. And they're one of our clients because when a company writes a deal, it has to be translated into international company. I was thinking Fortune, I was talking that level company. You need to hit that presentation, communicate it, but someone might write it, but it needs to be translated into French, English, Cantonese, up and down the line, all around the world, 8, 10, 20, 200 languages. And it needs the unique cultural influences to make sure you're communicating right. That's a critical part of our business, and being able to instantly get that out and then communicate it worldwide in a slide fashion where anyone can just drag and drop and recreate the corporate message from a compliant slides is incredible. And yeah, that's really powerful. You're hitting on some key issues.
Oh no, I think this idea of unstructured data, as you put it, that could take even cultural context in consideration, which really could, if it's truly
we call it mnemonics.
Yeah,
it's the mnemonics that go into it, and we have some discussions going on with companies to do that. It's not fully there, but the whole concept of bringing unstructured data and visual storytelling to create instant slides creates a whole communications category that is really big. Quite frankly, you create an instant television station without any reporters or production or any facility that way, because you can sit there at your computer, assemble what's coming up next and let it go. Let me pull down a video. I'm choosing that's playing now. While that's playing, prepare the next slide. We're going to do it. I queued it up. It came from corporate. Let's send it up. And the slide tray is just a feeder for it. And literally it makes a fundamental, you have a full TV production facility. What would have been 30 years ago cost you $30 million. I can do with Shufflrr and my MacBook Air.
That's cool, because I wish at times when I was in a rural office in freaking Japan somewhere talking to these executives at this factory, I wish I had augmented reality glasses or something like that, where a producer back at US was like watching the same presentation I was giving and how I was presenting it and giving me some feedback, just like a producer in a studio would be, and said like, okay, Greg, maybe let's queue up slide 4. This guy has a concern about, our QA procedure. So let's queue up this, that type of thing, right?
It's funny you say that, because in our broadcast functionality, we use speaker notes to give the training on what to say on the slide. And if you use the broadcast, you as the audience will only see the slide. Me as the presenter with my pad in my hand can see the notes that were given to me by marketing and can cue on specific points, and can coach me while I'm doing it, just using that basic feature. And our live broadcast does it. And when you're broadcasting live from the server, then you know what slides you're on, when, where, how, all that stuff goes into it. And there's something else special going on here, and we call it business social. Everyone wants to do social. Where's the business social? Everyone's on Facebook. They're all doing this. They're yelling, I got to get my conversation going. You know what I mean? They're deep into it. But the reality is, businesses spend money. They protect their data. They're willing to pay for it properly. You don't need 20 million businesses to make a living. A couple hundred would kill. So with that in mind, because they actually spend money, if you have a business with 50, 100 salespeople out there, you'll pay $10, $20, $30 a month to ensure that that's a closed network. I'm only communicating amongst them. They know my slides. This is file management. This is visualization. Think Minority Report, bringing how they move around files and dragging it right into the slide tray, and then Zoom pushing it up to the big screen, and I'm standing in Radio City Music Hall and there's 1,000 people in the audience going, yeah, James! And I feel like Fantasia, Mickey Mouse, and I'm just running Shufflrr from the stage. We just produced the whole show without much.
Wow, that's incredible.
That. It's really, it's there. It's been built. We've done it with paying clients. We've never had investment from outside sources. So we're a SaaS company that has recurring revenue, and it's 2 years old. Shufflrr's about 2 years old. And it's special. You see the clients that we've gotten in that period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, before that, I've done stuff at Disney World, and I helped NBC sell their Olympic. Well, I didn't help them. They sold it. They used software that I worked on and was a part of, you know what I mean? And done it for lots of great companies through the years. And this is kind of the culmination of that in a SaaS platform.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now I'm glad I'm talking to you today and talking about, presentation, which, to most people, they don't really think about it, like you said, and it seems almost boring, right? Compared to, virtual reality or whatever you want to talk about today, Pokemon Go or something like that. Yeah. But I mean, but it's important, like you said, to the enterprise and to the business and the way it functions and the way it could actually close revenue. So,
yeah, well, that's why we're alive, because it makes basically making getting efficiencies out of the creation, use, reuse, distribution, updating, sharing, broadcasting, tracking, and analyzing of slides and presentations is the real value equation, kind of summed up in that. And when you think about new categories of business that get created and understood, they create massive efficiencies where no one knew they were available. Presentation management creates massive efficiencies on this overlooked category of communication. Think about, I'm only doing it for businesses because they pay money. That's the only way to survive. But think about a university. How many presentations are done there? Isn't every single classroom set up to be a presentation? Think about every classroom in America. Think about a 6th grade class and suddenly it's raining and they can't go outside and the teacher has 20 minutes and they want to do a history report. They could type in Gettysburg and have a 15-slide presentation with pictures and circles and arrows and compliant and talk about Lincoln and what he said and the whole everything that goes into it and be entertaining. And the teacher doesn't have to be brilliant. They have to be themselves and help them through the information, but you can really make things so much more memorable and efficient, and that can manage huge school districts that way. I mean, maybe I get excited by it because
you should.
But that's and actually we've been used for big universities to help with their capital campaigns to ensure that when I get to you and you're like, well, should I give $50 or $100? Say, here's the video with the theme song. Remember when we won the championship? And suddenly you're like, $250 or whatever it is. But that's how you're selling on emotion. And if I can bring up the moments when you were in college and you won the NCAA title, and I can put that video up instantly when I'm talking to you and you got your checkbook out and you're a big success and you're deciding whether to give 10,000 or 20,000. It's all emotional when you're up above a certain number. The people who give $1 million versus 5 million, what's the difference? How I feel in my heart and your budget in the background, but still it's, you know what I mean? If you don't feel it, you don't give big. If you really feel it, then you're like, you give until you don't have to be fed anymore.
No, this is wonderful. I know this is really, truly wonderful talk, but we'll end it on that note, because I think we'll have other stories we can talk about in the future. But
anyway, you're welcome to reach out to me.
But yeah, let's close off the interview, and thank you again for the interview. But how can listeners find out more about Shufflrr?
You can go to shufflrr.com. That's 2 F's and 2 R's. Vowel challenged, like every good internet company who couldn't get a real word. And it's shuffling files. It's excellent. Presentation management. It's very easy. Or give us a call. We'll answer the phone. We're human over here. Amazing. We're in New York City, so
I hear the people in the background talking, so I think it's a very human thing.
Yeah, that's correct. That's what you will find with us.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Greg. Thanks for your time.
All right. Well, anyway, that was James Ontra, the CEO of Shufflrr LLC, and changing the way presentations are created, shared, and interacted with. So anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Valoria, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there. Anyway, thanks again, James. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Greg. Bye-bye.